A life unraveled. Mia Carter had always believed she knew exactly who she was. A 17-year-old girl from Chicago. She had grown up in a loving home with her parents, Linda and Mark Carter. They weren't wealthy, but they had given her a comfortable life filled with warmth and stability. She was an only child, doted on and protected, and while she sometimes wished for siblings, she never once doubted the love of the family that had raised her. Now, as she stood at O'Hare International Airport, her heart thrummed with excitement. This was her first trip abroad, a long-awaited adventure to Europe with her best friend, Natalie Pierce. The two had spent months planning every detail of their 2-week trip, poring over travel guides, watching endless YouTube videos about must-see spots, and crafting itineraries packed with historical landmarks and hidden gems. "I still can't believe we're actually doing this," Mia gushed as they navigated the check-in counter, her passport clutched tightly in her hand. Natalie grinned, adjusting her backpack. "I know. Europe, here we come. I can already taste the croissants and gelato." Mia laughed, but as the line moved forward, she felt a slight pang of nervousness. This was her first time traveling without her parents. She was used to them always being around, ensuring she was safe. But now, it was just her and Natalie, about to set off on a journey across the ocean. "You okay?" Natalie asked, noticing her pause. "Yeah," Maya said quickly, shaking off the moment of unease. "Just feels surreal, that's all." 8 hours later, they landed in Italy, stepping out into the warm embrace of the Roman sun. The city was everything Mia had imagined. Ancient ruins standing proudly among modern buildings, streets buzzing with life, the scent of freshly baked bread and espresso drifting through the air. They spent their first few days exploring the wonders of the city, the Colosseum, the Vatican, the Trevi Fountain. It felt like walking through a dream. But then, everything changed. A news report that shook her world. On their 4th night in Rome, Mia and Natalie decided to have a quiet evening at their errand, a charming apartment near Trastevere owned by Natalie's aunt. Exhausted from walking miles through the cobblestone streets, they collapsed onto the couch, gelato in hand, flipping through Italian television channels. Most of it was incomprehensible, a blur of fast-talking newscasters and dramatic soap operas. Then something caught Mia's attention. On the screen, a somber-faced reporter stood in front of a family portrait, speaking rapidly in Italian. A headline flashed at the bottom. "Case reopened. Child missing for 15 years. Natalie, who was taking Italian in school, tilted her head. "It's about a girl who went missing years ago. Apparently, they're reopening the investigation because of new evidence." Mia's gaze flickered to the photo on the screen. It was of a little girl, around 2 years old, with chestnut curls and large, expressive brown eyes. The girl was smiling, a hint of dimples visible in her chubby cheeks. Mia's spoon slipped from her fingers, landing in her bowl of gelato with a soft plop. The child on the screen looked exactly like her. A strange, unsettling sensation crawled up her spine. Her heart pounded erratically. "What's her name?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Natalie squinted at the screen, listening intently. "Elena Moretti. She disappeared from a small town in Tuscany when she was 2. Mia's mouth went dry. She stared at the girl's photo, her brain struggling to make sense of what she was seeing. The resemblance was uncanny. "That's just a coincidence, right?" Maya forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. "I mean, lots of kids look alike." Natalie didn't answer right away. Instead, she studied Mia's face with a serious expression. "I don't know, Mia. She looks exactly like you. Have you ever asked your parents about your early childhood?" Mia swallowed hard, a memory surfacing. Her mother had always been vague about her baby years. Mia had never seen any photos of herself younger than 3. Whenever she asked, Linda would say, "We lost a lot of pictures when we moved." A creeping unease settled in Mia's stomach. The seed of doubt. That night, long after Natalie had fallen asleep, Mia sat in the dimly lit kitchen, staring at her phone. She had typed in the name Elena Moretti missing 2009 Italy, and was scrolling through dozens of articles about the case. The details made her blood run cold. Elena had vanished from her family's backyard one afternoon in March 2009. Her mother had gone inside for just a few minutes, and when she returned, her daughter was gone. The police had launched an extensive search, but no clues were ever found. The case had gone cold. Until now. Mia hesitated before clicking on a link titled Full Timeline of the Disappearance. She skimmed through the information, her pulse quickening with every word. Elena Moretti vanished on March 10, 2009. Mia's listed birth date, April 10, 2009. Exactly 1 month later. A chill ran through her body. Hands shaking, she reached for her passport, flipping through the pages until she found the copy of her birth certificate tucked inside. She unfolded it carefully, her eyes scanning the details. Mia Carter. Born, April 10, 2009. Place of birth, Chicago, Illinois. But something was missing. There was no hospital name, no attending physician, just a vague government seal. Mia's breath came shallow. She had never noticed before, but now it stood out like a glaring red flag. Who didn't have a hospital listed on their birth certificate? Her heart pounded painfully against her ribs as she realized something else. She had no memory before the age of 3. She had always thought that was normal. Some people just didn't remember their early years. But now, she wasn't so sure. A terrifying question clawed its way into her mind, one she wasn't ready to face. Had her entire life been a lie? The first step toward the truth. The next morning, Mia barely touched her breakfast. Her stomach was in knots, her mind racing. Natalie noticed immediately. "You're still thinking about that girl, aren't you?" Mia hesitated before nodding. I can't shake the feeling that something is off." "Then call your parents," Natalie said firmly. "Ask them directly." Mia bit her lip. She wasn't sure she was ready for that. But as much as she wanted to ignore it, the doubt had already taken root. She needed answers. With trembling fingers, she dialed her mother's number. It rang twice before Linda picked up. "Mia, honey, how's Italy?" Mia took a slow breath. "Mom, I need to ask you something." Her mother's voice immediately changed, a note of concern creeping in. "What is it, sweetie?" Mia hesitated, then plunged forward. "Why don't I have any baby pictures before the age of 3? A pause. Then a forced laugh. "Oh, Mia, we've talked about this before. We lost them in the move, remember?" Mia's grip on her phone tightened. "Which hospital was I born in?" Another pause. Longer this time. "Honey, why are you asking these things?" Mia's stomach dropped, because she could hear it in her mother's voice. The hesitation, the fear, the lie that changed everything. Mia Carter's hand trembled as she held the phone to her ear. The silence stretching between her and her mother was suffocating. Her mother. "No, Linda," she corrected herself, because suddenly the word mother felt uncertain, had always been warm, nurturing, and safe. But now Mia could hear the lie in her voice, and it made her stomach twist. "Mia, what's wrong?" Linda asked again, her tone forcefully casual, but there was an edge of panic in it now. Mia swallowed the lump in her throat. "I just want to know, what hospital was I born in?" Another silence. Then a small, forced laugh. "Sweetheart, I don't remember that sort of thing. It was a small clinic, nothing special." Mia's blood ran cold. "You don't remember the name of the hospital where you had your only child?" Linda hesitated. "Mia, I looked at my birth certificate last night." Mia interrupted, her voice sharp. "It doesn't list a hospital. It doesn't list a doctor." "Why?" Linda exhaled shakily. "Mia, where is this coming from? Did something happen on your trip?" Mia clenched her jaw. "Just answer the question. A few seconds passed before Linda responded, but when she did, her voice had changed. It was no longer lighthearted or comforting. "Mia, I don't want to talk about this over the phone. We'll discuss it when you get home." Mia's breath caught. That was it. That was the confirmation she didn't want. Her mother, no, Linda, was hiding something. And she was too afraid to talk about it. "I'm not coming home," Maya said, surprising even herself with the sharpness in her voice. "Not until I figure out the truth." Before Linda could respond, Mia ended the call and dropped the phone onto the table. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of traffic outside. Natalie, who had been sitting across from her the entire time, watching the conversation unfold, hesitated before speaking. Mia shook her head, her hands gripping the edges of the table. "She's lying. I know it." She was stalling, trying to avoid answering. Natalie exhaled, rubbing her temples. "Okay, let's say, just hypothetically, that something isn't right about your past. What do we do now?" Mia stared blankly at the table. "We go to that village." Natalie's eyes widened. "Montefiore, the place where Elena Moretti went missing." Mia nodded. "I need to see it. Maybe I'll remember something." Natalie chewed her lip. "This is crazy, Mia. What if you're wrong? What if this is just a weird coincidence?" Mia met her gaze. "And what if I'm right?" Natalie had no answer to that. A journey into the unknown. By mid-afternoon, they were boarding a train heading north from Rome to Florence. The ride was smooth, but Mia couldn't enjoy the passing countryside. Her mind was stuck on one thought. If she wasn't Mia Carter, then who was she? They reached Florence in the evening. The city glowing under the golden sunset, they quickly rented a small car and began their drive toward Montefiore, a small village an hour outside the city. As the car wound through the countryside, the unease in Mia's chest grew stronger. She had no memories of this place, and yet, something about it felt familiar in a way she couldn't explain. They arrived just as the sky darkened, parking near the village square. Montefiore was quiet, its cobblestone streets empty, its old stone houses tucked neatly together as if frozen in time. A church bell rang in the distance, the sound eerily hollow in the night air. "This place is like a postcard," Natalie murmured. "But why does it feel?" "I don't know. Lonely." Mia didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on something at the edge of the square. A yellow villa. It was old, the paint peeling slightly, vines creeping up its stone walls. A rusted gate stood ajar, leading to a garden overgrown with wildflowers and tall grass. Mia's heart lurched in her chest. She had seen this house before. Not in photos, not in movies. In her dreams. Natalie followed her gaze. "Mia, what's wrong?" Mia took a slow step forward, then another, then another. Her pulse thundered in her ears as she crossed the threshold of the gate, her fingers brushing against the rusted iron. The touch sent a shiver down her spine. The memories came in flashes. A swing hanging from an old tree. Laughter. A woman's voice calling a name. Her name. But not Mia. Elena. Mia staggered back, gasping. Natalie rushed to her side. "Mia, what happened? Are you okay?" Mia gripped her friend's arm, trying to steady herself. I remember something. I think I've been here before." Natalie's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" Before Mia could answer, a voice called out behind them. "What are you doing here?" They turned to see an elderly woman standing near the gate. She had graying hair and sharp, perceptive eyes that flickered with something unreadable as she looked at Mia. The woman took a hesitant step forward, her eyes locked onto Mia's face. "Dio mio," she whispered, covering her mouth. Mia frowned. I'm sorry, do I know you?" The woman's eyes filled with tears. She clutched her chest as if she were seeing a ghost. You look just like her," the woman whispered. Mia's breath caught. "Like who?" The woman swallowed hard. Elena Moretti." Mia felt her knees go weak. Natalie stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Mia's shoulder. "Who are you?" she asked cautiously. The woman wiped her tears. "My name is Bianca. I was a friend of the Moretti family." Mia's heart pounded. "Can you tell me about them?" Bianca hesitated before nodding. "Come with me." Natalie shot Mia a look. Are we seriously doing this? But Mia had already made up her mind. She needed answers, and this woman might have them. The story that changed everything. Bianca led them to a small cafe near the edge of the square. It was empty, save for a single waiter who seemed to know the woman well. She gestured for Mia and Natalie to sit. "I don't know why you look so much like her," Bianca began, her voice quiet but firm. "But I can tell you what I know." She took a deep breath before continuing. Elena Moretti was only 2 when she was taken. It happened in the middle of the afternoon. Her mother, Isabella, went inside to answer a phone call. When she came back, Elena was gone. Mia's hands clenched into fists. No clues, no suspects. Bianca shook her head. There was nothing. The police searched for years. There were rumors, whispers that she had been taken by traffickers, but no one was ever caught. Mia's stomach twisted. Traffickers. Was that what had happened to her? Had she been stolen and sold? Natalie spoke up. "Elena's family. What happened to them?" Bianca's eyes saddened. Her father passed away years ago. Her mother, she never gave up looking. But it destroyed her. Mia's chest ached. All this time, another woman had been grieving for her, searching for her. Bianca studied Mia carefully. "You really don't remember anything." Mia hesitated. "No, but I think I need to find out if I'm really her." Bianca nodded. "Then you must go to Isabella. If anyone will know, it's her." Mia exhaled shakily. She had started this journey seeking answers. Now she was about to come face to face with the mother who had never stopped waiting for her. And she had no idea if she was ready for the truth hidden in the past. The next morning, Mia Carter stood in front of a small house at the edge of Montefiore, her heart hammering in her chest. The modest villa, surrounded by olive trees, looked as if it had been frozen in time. The shutters were slightly ajar, revealing warm light inside. This was it. Somewhere beyond that wooden door was Isabella Moretti, the woman who had spent 15 years searching for her daughter. Mia wasn't sure what terrified her more, the possibility that Isabella was her real mother, or the chance that she wasn't. Natalie squeezed her hand reassuringly. "You don't have to do this alone. We can turn back if you're not ready." Mia swallowed hard and shook her head. "I need to know." With a deep breath, she stepped forward and knocked. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slow, shuffling footsteps echoed from inside. The door creaked open, revealing a woman in her late 40s, with tired eyes and a weary face lined with grief. Her gaze landed on Mia, and everything stopped. The woman's breath hitched as she took a staggering step back, her hand flying to her mouth. "No," she whispered. This can't be." Mia froze. "Are you Isabella Moretti?" Tears filled the woman's eyes. She nodded, unable to speak. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, Isabella reached out, hesitantly, as if afraid Mia would disappear. "My baby," she choked. "Elena." Mia's throat tightened. "I don't know." That was the truth. She wanted to embrace this woman, wanted to feel something. Recognition, love, familiarity. But all she felt was a suffocating mix of confusion and guilt. Because deep down, a part of her still felt like she was betraying the only parents she had ever known. Natalie cleared her throat, stepping forward gently. "We're here because Mia, Elena, she doesn't remember anything from before she was 3. But she looks just like your missing daughter, and there are a lot of strange coincidences." Isabella's hands trembled. "I knew," she whispered, her voice breaking. I knew from the moment I saw you. Mia clenched her fists, her emotions tangled. I need proof. Isabella nodded quickly, wiping at her tears. Of course, my love. Of course. She turned and hurried into the house. Mia hesitated before following, stepping into a cozy living room filled with old photographs, religious icons, and the lingering scent of lavender. The walls were covered with framed pictures of a young couple holding a baby girl, her face joyful, her dark curls bouncing. Mia's stomach twisted. That little girl. She could have been looking at her own baby pictures, if she had any. Isabella returned, holding something carefully in her hands. It was a small, tattered pink blanket, delicate with age. This was yours, she whispered, holding it out to Mia. You never went anywhere without it. Mia hesitated before taking the fabric in her hands. It felt soft, familiar. She ran her fingers along the frayed edges, her heart pounding. Then suddenly, a flash, a memory, dim but real. Warm hands tucking the blanket around her, the scent of lavender, a soft voice humming a lullaby. Mia gasped, nearly dropping the blanket. Natalie saw her face. Mia. Mia gripped the blanket tighter, her hands shaking. I think I remember this. Isabella let out a sob, collapsing into a chair. It's you, she wept. I knew it was you. Mia's breathing was shallow. Could this really be happening? Was her entire life, a life she thought was real, nothing but a stolen existence, uncovering the lies? The next day, Mia, Natalie, and Isabella sat in the local police station in Florence, speaking with Inspector Luca Rossi. This is an incredibly delicate situation, Rossi said, folding his hands on the desk. We will conduct a DNA test immediately, but it may take a few days to process. Mia nodded stiffly, barely able to focus. I've also reopened the case, Rossi continued, his voice grave. If you are indeed Elena Moretti, that means someone took you all those years ago, and we need to find out who. Mia's mind raced. Who had stolen her? Had her parents, Linda and Mark, known all along? Or had they been lied to as well? She needed answers. Now. Rossi glanced at her. Do you want us to contact your parents in America? Mia hesitated. She wasn't ready to face them. Not yet. No, she said quietly. Not until we know the truth. Rossi nodded, making a note in his file. We will investigate all possible connections, but in the meantime, you'll be placed under police protection. If someone was involved in your abduction, they may not want the truth to come out. Mia's stomach twisted. Someone out there knew the truth, and they might be watching. A warning from the shadows. That evening, Mia and Natalie returned to their rented apartment, their minds exhausted from the emotional whirlwind of the past 2 days. Natalie flopped onto the couch. Mia, this is insane. You might actually be Elena Moretti. How are you feeling? Mia exhaled, rubbing her temples. Like my entire life has been a lie. Natalie bit her lip. What are you going to do if the DNA test confirms it? Mia hesitated. I don't know. She had spent her whole life believing she was Mia Carter. She had loved Linda and Mark, trusted them. Could she just erase that? Her phone buzzed. She frowned, reaching for it. It was an unknown number. A single message flashed across the screen. Be careful. Some secrets are better left buried. Mia's breath hitched. Natalie noticed her reaction immediately. Mia, what is it? Mia turned the phone toward her. Natalie's face went pale. Who the hell sent that? I don't know. But one thing was clear. Someone didn't want her to keep digging. And that meant she was closer to the truth than she had ever been. Varied truths and hidden dangers. The message on Mia's phone sent a cold shiver down her spine. Be careful. Some secrets are better left buried. Someone knew she was searching for the truth, and they didn't want her to find it. Natalie grabbed the phone from Mia's trembling hands, reading the message again. This isn't just some random text, she said, her voice low. Somebody is watching you, Mia. They know what you're doing. Mia felt her pulse quicken. But how? The only people who know about the DNA test are Isabella, the police, and my parents. Natalie hesitated. You don't think? Mia shook her head. I don't know. But I need to find out. She stood, grabbing her jacket. Natalie's eyes widened. Wait, where are you going? To the police, Maya said, her voice firm. Inspector Rossi needs to see this. The investigation deepens. An hour later, Mia and Natalie sat in Rossi's office inside the Florence police station. The inspector studied the message on Mia's phone with a grim expression. This is a direct warning, Rossi muttered. Whoever sent it knows what you're looking for. Mia clenched her fists. How is that even possible? The DNA test results aren't even back yet. Rossi set the phone down and leaned forward. Mia, if your disappearance was part of a larger operation, human trafficking, illegal adoptions, or something more organized, then there are people who have a lot to lose if the truth comes out. And if they went to the trouble of stealing you 15 years ago, they won't hesitate to do worse now. Natalie paled. Are you saying she's in danger? Rossi nodded. Potentially, yes. And if they knew she was looking into this, it means someone close to you might be involved. Mia's breath caught. Someone close to her. She thought of Linda and Mark. Could they have known all along? Could they have been lying to her for 15 years? Or had they been deceived just like she had? Rossi tapped his fingers against the desk. We'll try to trace the number, but if this is from someone connected to your past, they'll have covered their tracks well. In the meantime, you'll stay in a secure location under police watch. Mia swallowed hard. I don't want to hide. I want to find out who did this. Rossi exhaled. I understand. But we need to be careful. We don't know how dangerous these people are. Natalie squeezed Mia's hand. Whatever happens, you're not doing this alone. Mia nodded, her determination hardening. She had spent years living a lie. Now, she would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. A call from the past. Later that night, back at the apartment, Mia stared at her phone. The unknown message replayed in her mind over and over. There was only one way to find out more. She scrolled through her contacts until she found the number she had been avoiding. Her parents. Her finger hovered over the call button. Then, before she could second-guess herself, she pressed it. The phone rang once, twice. Then Linda picked up. Mia. Her mother's voice was laced with relief. Oh, thank God. We've been so worried. Why haven't you been answering our calls? Mia took a slow breath. Because I need answers, Mom. A pause. Answers about what? Mia tightened her grip on the phone. About me. About where I came from. Linda's voice faltered. Mia, what are you talking about? Don't lie to me, Maya snapped. I know my birth certificate is fake. I know I was never born in Chicago. I know there's no record of my birth. And I know I might be Elena Moretti. Silence. Cold, heavy silence. Then, finally, Mia. Linda's voice cracked. You don't understand. Mia's heart pounded. Then make me understand. Tell me the truth. Another pause. Then Linda whispered, it wasn't supposed to be like this. Mia froze. What do you mean? Linda inhaled shakily. We didn't steal you, Mia. I swear to you, we didn't. We were told you were abandoned. We thought we were saving you. Mia's stomach twisted. Who told you that? The agency. What agency? Mia demanded. Linda hesitated. I don't know if I can tell you that. Rage surged through Mia. You don't get to decide that anymore. Linda let out a quiet sob. Mia, if you keep digging, you're going to put yourself in danger. Please, come home. Let us explain everything in person. Mia clenched her jaw. I'm not coming home until I know the truth. Mia, please. Mia ended the call and threw her phone onto the table. Her hands were shaking. Natalie watched her carefully. Mia, what did she say? Mia swallowed hard, her mind racing. She said they didn't steal me, that they thought they were adopting an abandoned baby. Natalie frowned. That means someone else took you and sold you to them. Mia's breath caught. Somewhere out there, someone had orchestrated everything, and she needed to find out who. The DNA test results. The next morning, Mia and Natalie returned to the police station, where Rossi was waiting for them with a sealed folder in his hands. He met Mia's gaze. The results are in. Mia's heart pounded. This was it. The truth. Rossi slowly opened the folder, scanning the contents. His expression darkened. Mia's fingers dug into the chair. What does it say? Rossi looked up, his voice steady but heavy. There's a 99.9% match. Mia, you are Elena Moretti. Mia's breath caught. Natalie let out a gasp beside her. The world tilted, everything spinning. It was real. She wasn't Mia Carter. She was Elena Moretti. 15 years stolen. A life rewritten. Mia pressed a hand to her chest, her breathing shaky. So, what happens now? Rossi closed the folder. We find out who took you. The shadow of the past. That evening, as Mia tried to process the weight of her new reality, her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Another message. We warned you. Now you've gone too far. Mia's blood turned to ice. Natalie looked over her shoulder, reading the message. Mia, this isn't just a warning anymore. Mia's hands shook as she locked her phone. Someone was watching her, and now they were coming for her. The shadow that watches. The message on Mia's phone burned in her mind like a warning siren. We warned you. Now you've gone too far. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. Someone, whoever had stolen her all those years ago, was watching. And now, they knew she wouldn't stop searching for the truth. Natalie grabbed the phone from Mia's trembling fingers. Mia, this isn't just a warning anymore. Whoever this is, they're serious. Mia swallowed, her throat dry. I know. Her mind raced. How had they known so quickly that the DNA results were back? That she was still digging? That she had no plans of letting this go? There was only one explanation. Someone close to the case, someone within the system, was leaking information. And if they knew where she was no longer safe. Nowhere is safe. Mia and Natalie rushed back to the police station, demanding to speak with Inspector Rossi. He met them in his office, his expression tight with concern. You got another message? Rossi asked, reading the text on Mia's phone. His eyes darkened. Mia nodded, trying to keep her hands from shaking. Whoever this is, they know what I'm doing. They know the DNA results are back. That means they have someone on the inside, right? Rossi exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. It's possible. Someone with access to case files, someone monitoring police communications. He glanced at the phone again. We need to move you somewhere safe. If they know where you are, you're a target. Mia clenched her jaw. I don't want to hide. You don't have a choice, Rossi said firmly. These people, whoever they are, have been covering this up for 15 years, and they won't hesitate to make sure you disappear again. A cold chill ran through Mia's body. Disappear? Just like before. What about Isabella? Maya asked. If they're after me, doesn't that mean she's in danger too? Rossi nodded. We've already stationed officers near her home, but we'll increase security. Mia looked at Natalie, whose face was tense with worry. This is real, Mia, Natalie whispered. Whoever took you, they're still out there, and they don't want to be found. Mia took a shaky breath. Then we need to find them first. A clue from the past. Later that night, Mia, Natalie, and Rossi sat in a secure police safe house on the outskirts of Florence. The air was thick with tension. Rossi placed a file on the table. "We've been going through the records from 15 years ago, trying to find anyone with ties to both your case and illegal adoption rings." He opened the file, revealing a stack of old documents. "Your parents, Linda and Mark Carter, claimed they adopted you through a private agency. But that agency doesn't exist." Mia felt her stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" Rossi flipped through the pages. "We checked the records. The organization that placed you with the Carters, called Horizon Child Services, was a front. It shut down a year after your disappearance." Natalie leaned forward. "So whoever ran that agency was involved in Mia's abduction." Rossi nodded. "And we found something else." He slid an old newspaper article across the table. Mia's breath caught in her throat. It was an article from 2010, a year after her disappearance. It featured a man's face, a grainy photograph of someone in a suit standing in front of a courthouse. The headline read, "Local businessman under investigation for suspected child trafficking ring." Mia read the name beneath the photo, Lorenzo De Luca. Her skin crawled. "I've never heard that name before," Maya said, her voice hoarse. Rossi's face was grim. He ran multiple international adoption agencies. He claimed they were legal, but there were rumors that he was involved in human trafficking. The case against him fell apart. Lack of evidence. He walked free. Mia clenched her fists. "And now?" "He vanished," Rossi said. "Disappeared right after the case closed. No one knows where he is." Mia's pulse pounded in her ears. If Lorenzo De Luca had been the one responsible for taking her, then he was still out there. And if he knew she was getting closer to the truth, he wouldn't let her live long enough to expose him. An unexpected call. The room was silent for several moments as the weight of the revelation settled over them. Then, Mia's phone rang. Everyone froze. She slowly picked it up, her hands shaking. Unknown caller. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Natalie reached for her hand. "Don't answer it." Mia hesitated. Then, against every instinct in her body, she swiped to accept the call and held the phone to her ear. She didn't say anything. For a few seconds, the line was silent. Then, a low voice spoke. "I told you to stop." Mia's blood turned to ice. The voice was calm, controlled, and terrifying. "I don't know who you are," Maya forced out, her voice shaking. "But I'm going to find out." A short chuckle. "You don't want to do that." Mia swallowed hard. "I already know about Lorenzo De Luca." Silence. Then, the voice became colder. "He's not the only one you should be afraid of." Mia's grip on the phone tightened. She tried to keep her voice steady. "Why did you take me?" A pause. Then the voice whispered, "Not everything is what it seems." And then, the call went dead. Mia lowered the phone slowly, her entire body numb. Rossi stood abruptly. "We need to trace that call." Natalie grabbed Maya's shoulders. "Mia, who was that?" Mia looked up, her voice hollow. "I don't know. But one thing was clear. This wasn't over. It was just beginning, and whoever had stolen her past was still out there, waiting in the dark." The final confrontation. Mia Carter, or Elena Moretti, as she now knew herself to be, stood in the dimly lit police safe house, gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. The voice from the call still echoed in her mind. "Not everything is what it seems." A chill ran through her spine. Whoever this was, they weren't just threatening her, they were warning her. But why? Inspector Rossi's face was stone cold as he turned to the tech team monitoring Mia's phone. "Tell me you got a trace on that call." A young officer, Marco, shook his head, frustration in his eyes. "No luck. The call was rerouted through multiple foreign servers. Whoever they are, they know how to cover their tracks." Mia's stomach twisted. "So we still don't know who's behind this." "We know enough," Rossi said firmly. "We have a name. Lorenzo De Luca. And if he's still pulling the strings after 15 years, then he won't stay hidden forever. Natalie, sitting beside Mia, shifted uncomfortably. But what if he's not alone? What if there's a whole network still operating? Rossi hesitated before answering. Then we bring them all down. Mia took a slow, steady breath. And I'm going to help. Rossi frowned. Mia? No. I'm the reason this is all unraveling, Maya said firmly. They took me. They sold me. I'm living proof of what they did. And I won't stop until I know everything. Rossi studied her carefully, then sighed. If you're serious about this, then we do it right. No more risking your life alone. From this point forward, we do everything together. Understood? Mia nodded. Natalie folded her arms. So what's the plan? Rossi leaned forward, his expression dark. We set a trap. The bait and the prey. The next day, Mia sat in a luxury hotel lobby in central Florence, sipping coffee as if she weren't the key to unraveling a 15-year-old crime. But she wasn't just drinking coffee. She was bait. Rossi and his team had leaked false information that Maya would be traveling to meet her real parents in private. No security. No police. Just her. If someone from the network was still out there, they would come for her. And this time, the police would be waiting. Mia kept her expression calm, but inside, her pulse was racing. Then, a man walked in. Tall, dark suit, sunglasses. Her breath hitched. He sat down across the room, pretending to read a newspaper. But Mia could feel it. He was watching her. She kept her gaze lowered, subtly touching her phone under the table, pressing the signal to Rossi's team. They had their man. The chase. Mia stood up, casually slinging her bag over her shoulder and walking toward the exit. The man in the suit hesitated, then followed. She stepped onto the crowded Florence street, her heart hammering. Then, suddenly, he was moving. Fast. Straight toward her. Mia barely had time to react before he grabbed her wrist, yanking her toward a waiting car. Before she could scream. Bang. A gunshot echoed through the street. The man staggered backward, clutching his shoulder. Police officers stormed the scene, surrounding him instantly. Maya stumbled back, breathing hard. Rossi appeared at her side, his gun still raised. You okay? Mia nodded shakily. The man, now restrained, glared up at Rossi. You have no idea what you're getting into. Rossi smirked. Oh, I think we do. Then, to everyone's shock, the man laughed. You think it ends with me? He sneered. You're too late. Lorenzo's already gone. Maya's stomach dropped. Gone? Rossi demanded. Where? The man just smiled. You'll never find him. Mia felt cold dread settle in her chest. Lorenzo De Luca, the man responsible for stealing her life, was still out there. And he wasn't running. He was waiting. The final clue. Hours later, back at the police station, the interrogation room was tense. Rossi, Mia, and Natalie stood behind a one-way mirror, watching the captured man sit calmly in his chair, his hands cuffed. He's not talking, Rossi muttered. At least, not yet. Mia's jaw clenched. Then I'll make him talk. Rossi turned to her. Mia, that's not. But she was already pushing the door open. The man glanced up as she entered, a slow smirk spreading across his face. Well, the lost little girl. Mia sat across from him, staring him down. You took everything from me. The man leaned back. You don't even remember. Mia's hands curled into fists. Maybe not, but I remember enough. He laughed. And what exactly do you think you're going to do? Mia took a deep breath. Then she leaned forward, her voice cold. I don't have to do anything. The police already have enough evidence to tear apart every connection you have. You're going to spend the rest of your life behind bars. The man's smirk faltered. Mia pressed on. And De Luca, he won't be able to hide forever. We'll find him. And when we do, he'll rot in prison just like you." The man's eyes darkened. Then, for the first time, he looked nervous. Mia had struck a nerve. Before he could recover, Rossi stepped in. "This is your last chance. Talk now, and maybe you get a deal. Otherwise, you're going down with the rest of them." The man hesitated. Then, finally, he exhaled. "There's a warehouse," he muttered, "in Naples. That's where DeLuca was last seen." Mia's breath hitched. Rossi nodded. "Then that's where we go." The final showdown. Naples. A storm raged over the coast as Rossi's team moved in on the warehouse. Mia, despite Rossi's protests, was there watching from a secure position. She needed to see this through. Through the rain, she saw shadows moving inside the warehouse. Then, a voice crackled through the police radio. "We've got him." Mia's breath caught. Seconds later, Rossi emerged, gripping a handcuffed man by the collar. Lorenzo DeLuca. Mia stared at him. The man who had stolen her from her real family, sold her into a life of lies. Their eyes met, and for the first time, she saw something in his gaze. Not fear, not regret, just emptiness. Then he smirked. "I wondered when you'd come looking." Mia felt a rush of fury, but she wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing it. She turned away, because now he was the one who had lost everything. And she was finally free. A new beginning. A week later, Maya stood on the front porch of Isabella Moretti's home in Montefiore. Her real mother, the woman who had spent 15 years searching for her. Isabella opened the door, her eyes shining with tears. Mia hesitated. Then, for the first time, she whispered, "Mom." Isabella broke into a sob and pulled Mia into her arms. And for the first time in her life, Maya felt whole. The past had stolen so much from her, but now she had a future, and she was ready to embrace it.